You know that heart-dropping, chaotic sound when you accidentally knock a glass off a counter?
Oh yeah, the absolute worst.
Right, and it just shatters across a hard tile floor. When you're standing there just looking at 100 pieces of sharp glass, you inherently understand that, well, things break, right?
Yeah, things decay, they get messy.
Exactly. But you never, ever expect those shards to suddenly, leap up off the floor and piece themselves back together in midair.
That would be terrifying, honestly.
Right, because we take that physical reality completely for granted. We just accept that time moves in one direction and that chaos is, the natural endpoint of order.
It's just how the universe works, supposedly.
Supposedly. But what if that universal rule is completely backward? Today's deep dive is centered on this incredible piece published today, July 16th, 2026, by Rajesh Chowdhry in The Eternal Thread.
Such a fantastic article. Really, really dense, but brilliant.
It is wild. We are going to explore this radical new framework that attempts to answer why time only seems to move forward, and how the cold mathematical laws of physics are inextricably linked to human consciousness.
Yeah, and the premise Chowdhry lays out here, it forces a total reevaluation of how you and I experience existence.
Okay, let's unpack this because we need to start with the basics.
Right. To really grasp the magnitude of the shift he's proposing, we have to look closely at the bedrock of our current physical models.
The stuff we all learned in high school physics.
Exactly, because any discussion about the direction of time is ultimately a discussion about entropy, right? The second law of thermodynamics.
Right. The idea that things fall apart.
Yeah. We observe that isolated systems naturally evolve toward thermal equilibrium, basically a state of maximum disorder.
What?
Like, think of a hot cup of tea left on a desk.
It's going to cool down.
It inevitably cools down, as its heat just dissipates into the room. But a cold cup of tea will never, spontaneously extract heat from the surrounding air to boil itself.
Right. The heat doesn't just magically jump back into the cup. It's strictly a one-way street.
Always.
And anyone familiar with basic thermodynamics knows that entropy is the defining mechanism of the arrow of time. But if we accept that the universe is constantly marching toward greater disorder, we hit this massive paradox right at the beginning.
The cosmological origin point.
Exactly. If entropy always increases, then by definition, it had to be at its absolute minimum at the very beginning of the universe.
Yeah, and that is the ultimate tension in modern physics right now. For the universe to have been winding down into disorder for, 13.8 billion years?
Something like that, yeah.
The Big Bang must have occurred in a state of nearly incomprehensible order. And the standard scientific view essentially just accepts this as a brute fact.
Just, it is what it is.
Pretty much. They say it's a given boundary condition of our universe.
I have always found that to be a wildly unsatisfying answer from the scientific community.
Oh, it's totally a cop-out.
Right. It's like describing the universe as a messy teenager's bedroom. You clean it perfectly on Sunday, and that's the Big Bang, maximum order. And then as the week goes on, clothes hit the floor, books pile up.
And by Friday, it's total chaos.
Exactly, total chaos. And it takes active external work to clean it up again, but the natural state is just getting messier. But the glaring question remains, why was the cosmic bedroom perfectly clean at the beginning of time?
Right, who folded the laundry before the Big Bang?
Yes, why is the natural resting state of reality a one-way slide into decay?
Well, what's fascinating here is how Chowdhry approaches that exact gap in our understanding. He doesn't try to solve the math of the Big Bang. He completely shifts the paradigm of what entropy actually represents.
This is where it gets so mind-bending.
It really is. So, he introduces what he calls the law of realization and the law of conservation.
Okay.
And in this framework, he asks us to consider that, maybe entropy is not the underlying cause driving the one-directional movement of time.
Wait, if it's not the cause, then what is it?
He says entropy is actually the natural, inevitable effect of something much deeper occurring.
He proposes that entropy increases because realizations are accumulating in the universe, which, that is a massive conceptual leap.
Huge. We are stepping completely out of standard thermodynamics here.
Yeah, we're stepping into a space where consciousness and physics overlap, but I want to hold our feet to the fire on the mechanics of this because this word realization is tricky.
It is. It has a lot of baggage.
Right. How exactly does a non-conscious entity realize anything? Chowdhry writes that every single form in existence, whether it's a subatomic particle, a star, or a human being, is constantly offering information back into the quantum field. We aren't talking about a carbon atom having a conscious thought, are we? Like, the atom isn't pondering its existence.
No, definitely not. We have to strip away the anthropomorphic baggage of the word realization to really understand the physics he's describing.
Okay, so what does it mean for a particle?
In a quantum mechanical sense, a realization is simply an interaction. When a subatomic particle interacts with another particle or a field, its wave function collapses.
So it goes from being a probability to an actual concrete thing.
Exactly. It takes on specific properties,
Yeah.
spin, charge, position, and that interaction generates relational data.
Got it.
It is a moment where the universe realizes a specific state of being out of a sea of probabilities.
Oh, I see. So every interaction, no matter how microscopic, is generating concrete information about reality.
Yes. And that brings us to Chowdhry's law of conservation. Because in traditional physics, we know energy is never lost, right? It's only transferred.
Right, thermodynamics 101.
Well, Chowdhry extends this rule to this relational data. He says the quantum field receives these realizations and holds them with what he calls quiet economy.
Quiet economy. I love that phrase.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It means absolutely nothing is lost. Every shift, every interaction, every tiny stabilization of a hydrogen atom.
Or like the complex metabolic process of a plant.
Exactly. All of it is gathered and conserved as structural information in the field.
So what does this all actually mean for us? Like, if we think about the universe as an unfathomably massive computing network, it's as if every particle, every star, every person is just constantly uploading telemetry data to a cosmic cloud.
Yes. Perfect analogy.
We are all generating raw data just by existing and interacting.
Yeah.
And when enough data gathers in that cloud, when enough realizations have accumulated,
The system hits a threshold.
right, it forces a massive system-wide software update.
Yeah, that analogy tracks perfectly with what Chowdhry calls the march of complexity.
Okay, walk me through that.
He describes a distinct evolutionary path for the universe based on this accumulating data. Early on, right after the Big Bang, the realizations were simple. Reality existed merely as scattered particles.
Just a bunch of cosmic dust.
Right. But as the field conserved those interactions, it essentially learned how to sustain more complex structures. So particles updated into mass. Mass self-organized into physical form.
Okay, and then form leaped into biological life.
Exactly. And eventually, life updated to reflective awareness, which is, well, where humanity currently sits.
That is just incredible to think about. But wait, I have to challenge this idea of entropy acting as a, what do you call it, a gentle pressure toward this higher complexity?
Yeah, that gentle press.
Because Chowdhry describes entropy not as destructive decay, but as the universe clearing away what is no longer stable to make room for these refined expressions.
Right.
But when I look out into the cosmos, I see supernovas wiping out entire solar systems. I see black holes tearing apart stars with incomprehensible gravitational violence.
It's brutal out there.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a gentle pressure toward a more refined existence. It looks like senseless, chaotic destruction. How does his framework account for that violence?
Well, this raises a really important question about scale and what exactly is being destroyed. When a supernova explodes, yes, the physical form of that star is violently dismantled. But according to the law of conservation, the realization of that star's entire life cycle is permanently integrated into the field.
Oh, so the data of the star survives.
Exactly. And more importantly, that violent destruction is precisely what scatters heavy elements like carbon and iron across the galaxy.
Which we need for life.
Right. They are the fundamental prerequisites for the next software update, which is biological life. So the physical structure decays, yes, but the complexity of the universe's potential exponentially increases.
Wow, so entropy clears the board, but the data remains.
Exactly, which perfectly solves the messy room paradox we started with.
Wait, how so?
Well, why was entropy lowest at the Big Bang? Because, as Chowdhry points out, the hard drive was completely empty.
Oh, of course.
In the earliest moments of reality, no realizations had been accumulated yet. The universe had just booted up.
That makes so much sense. Without accumulated interactions, there was no structural data to clear away.
Right. But as the universe experienced itself, as information cascaded from fundamental forces up into living organisms, entropy naturally had to rise to accommodate the clearing of outdated forms.
So we can't return to a lower level of entropy for the exact same reason we can't return to an earlier, less realized state of reality.
Exactly. The universe cannot unlearn what it has already integrated.
So the shattered glass on the tile floor doesn't put itself back together because the universe has already moved past that configuration?
Right. The event of the breaking, the acoustic energy released, the realization of those shards, it's already been uploaded to the field.
It's saved data.
Yep.
But if the universe is constantly evolving into higher and higher states of awareness, why do you and I still feel completely trapped in the relentless forward march of the clock?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Why are we stuck in linear time if consciousness is supposedly expanding?
Because at our current level of participation, Chowdhry explains that our consciousness is heavily identified with moving through form.
Moving through form. Okay.
Yeah. We experience existence by occupying a specific physical structure, our bodies, that is subject to that clearing pressure of entropy. We are inside the software program while it's running.
So we can only process the data sequentially, frame by frame, second by second.
Exactly.
We are riding the wave forward, unable to see what's ahead or swim backward. But here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh, yeah.
The source text suggests that humanity is currently approaching a threshold where this localized, linear experience of time is going to fundamentally change. Chowdhry refers to this as stepping into the fifth dimension. And I want to clarify for anyone whose mind immediately goes to sci-fi tropes and want to talking about physical portals or like building a time machine.
No, not at all. It is a profound shift in internal perspective.
Okay, so how does he explain it?
A really good way to visualize this current linear state versus the fifth dimensional state is to think of a theater.
A theater, okay.
Right now, operating in standard linear time, you are like an actor performing on the stage.
Yeah.
You are fully immersed in your character.
So I only know the lines I'm saying right now.
Exactly. You only know the dialogue that has been spoken up to this exact scene, and you have absolutely no idea what happens in the third act.
Yeah.
You are completely identified with moving through the narrative.
You're just inside the story, trying to survive the scene.
But if consciousness shifts to recognize itself, not as the isolated character on stage, but as the underlying thread connecting the entire production.
Wait, so stepping back.
Yes, your perspective shifts to that of the audience. From the seats, you can perceive the entirety of the play. You see the past scenes that led here, you witness the present tension on stage, and you can simultaneously sense the different ways the plot could unfold based on the actor's choices.
You witness the movement of reality rather than being blindly carried along by it.
Precisely.
But if we follow that logic, aren't we risking total psychological paralysis?
How do you mean?
Well, if we are shifting to this audience perspective where we start sensing unchosen possibilities and seeing the past, present, and alternate futures simultaneously, how does anyone function on a Tuesday?
Right, like how do you go to the grocery store?
Yeah, if I can perceive every possible outcome of every minor decision I make, it seems like my brain would just short circuit. Like I'm suddenly gaining superpowers to control reality, but it's too much data.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the shift Chowdhry describes isn't about cognitive overload or actively calculating infinite timelines.
Yeah.
It is about resting in a different state of awareness. The text uses a very specific metaphor. We become less identified with the wave and more identified with resting in the ocean.
The wave in the ocean.
Yeah. When you are the wave, you are at the absolute mercy of the wind, the tide, and the inevitable crash on the shore.
That is the anxiety of linear time. You are desperately trying to control the uncontrollable.
Exactly. You're constantly fighting the entropy of your own life. But when you realize you are the ocean, the wave is still happening. Time is still passing.
You still have to pay your bills and make decisions on a Tuesday.
Right. But your sense of self is no longer trapped in the frantic forward motion of the wave. You become the quiet, spacious awareness in which the wave is occurring.
Wow.
From that deeper space, you aren't frantically analyzing unchosen possibilities to manipulate the outcome. You simply hold them in quiet awareness. Time and entropy lose their one-directional grip on your psyche.
Because you are no longer exclusively identified with the physical form that is decaying.
You've got it.
You are sensing the vastness of the cosmic cloud, rather than just identifying as a single string of code being processed.
It's a really liberating concept.
It is a staggering conceptual leap. I mean, we are talking about bridging the gap between quantum mechanics, cosmological evolution, and human awareness.
That connects everything.
It really does. But the most vital part of Chowdhry's thesis is that this is not abstract philosophy happening to a universe millions of light years away. This mechanism relies entirely on the individual.
Yes. The macro scale and the micro scale are inseparable here. The universe does not evolve independently of the conscious beings that populate it.
Which means the source material is making an incredibly direct personal claim about you, the listener. The text argues that every genuine realization you allow yourself today quietly and permanently adds to this universal possibility.
Every single one.
That means the very act of you taking the time to listen to this deep dive, to stretch your mind around the nature of entropy and time, it isn't just a personal intellectual exercise.
Not at all.
By learning something new, you are literally generating data. You are the mechanism by which the universe is uploading a new realization to the cosmic field.
The implications of that are profound, honestly. Our internal work, our psychological growth, and our expanding awareness, they are the literal engines of cosmic evolution.
It makes everything feel so significant.
It does.
Yeah.
Chowdhry frames this so beautifully. He says, we are the universe continuing to realize itself. We are the eyes of the cosmos slowly learning to look back at its own structure and recognize the continuous thread that has always bound it together.
When you become more aware, the universe becomes more aware. It completely reframes how we perceive our own personal failures or, moments of chaos. Going back to the shattered glass or the messy room.
Right.
When structures in our own lives break down, whether it's a career path that falls apart or a relationship that ends, we naturally view that increase in personal entropy as a tragedy.
We just see it as decay and loss.
Yeah, we see it as decay. But through Chowdhry's lens, that breakdown is just the universe applying that gentle pressure. It is clearing away an outdated, unstable structure in your life to make space for a more refined, complex version of yourself to emerge.
Because the physical form of the previous chapter decays, but the realization of that experience is permanently conserved in you.
It's not lost.
Never lost. You carry the data forward into the next iteration of your life.
We aren't just decaying, we're being pressured into higher complexity.
That's a great way to put it.
Man, we've covered immense ground today, moving from the paradox of the Big Bang's perfectly ordered state to the cosmic accumulation of data, and finally to this threshold of fifth-dimensional awareness.
It's a lot to process.
It is. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, one that brings this massive quantum concept right down into your daily experience.
I think applying that concept of sensing unchosen possibilities is arguably the most practical takeaway we have here.
Absolutely. So think about the last time you found yourself standing at a major crossroads in your life.
We all have them.
Right. Maybe you were deciding whether to take a massive risk on a new career or whether to relocate to a city where you didn't know anyone. As you wrestled with that choice, you likely imagined two completely different futures with intense vividness.
You picture the whole thing.
You could almost feel the texture of both timelines, who you would become in each scenario, the struggles you would face, the joys you would experience. Usually we write that off as simple daydreaming or anxiety or just the brain over-calculating risk.
Right, we dismiss it as just noise in the biological machine.
But what if it isn't noise? If the hallmark of this approaching fifth-dimensional shift is the ability to sense unchosen possibilities without being trapped by them, then perhaps in that moment of vivid imagination, you aren't just daydreaming.
You're actually tapping into it.
What if you were actually experiencing a literal micro-shift into fifth-dimensional awareness? For that split second, holding two completely real, distinct futures in your mind simultaneously, you aren't the actor desperately trying to survive the scene.
You are the audience.
Yes, you are the audience, viewing the expanse of the play. You are sensing the timeline from the quiet depth of the ocean rather than just being battered by the wave.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
And if that is true, then maybe the glass on the floor was never truly broken. From the perspective of the eternal thread, it just shifted into a new realization. Keep exploring those possibilities.